Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into something really fascinating, pulling data from the annual and ESG reports of a massive utility company.
And this is a company that provides, the absolute backbone of essential services.
We're talking water, sewage, solid waste, everything for an entire region, and we're zeroing in on one specific year, 2021.
And if you look at their history, 2021 was, well, a true stress test. They faced this collision of two huge, almost existential pressures all at once.
Right.
You had the new legal framework for sanitation, this huge regulatory mandate, hitting their desk with these massive universalization goals.
And at the same time, outside their offices, the pipes were literally running dry, a severe long-term climate crisis. It was a perfect storm.
Exactly. That combination,
Yeah.
it tested their operational resilience and strategic agility in a way few other companies have ever had to manage.
Okay, let's unpack this then, because
Yeah.
the wider economic backdrop was miserable. You had inflation, interest rates going up, a weak labor market.
Total mess.
And yet, this company didn't just survive. They reported strong financial growth. So what were the headline numbers? How did they pull that off?
Well, what's so fascinating is that their core business proved to be incredibly robust. It was almost decoupled from that wider instability. I mean, they serve a huge state. Their service levels are impressive, 100% water supply coverage. And the key number, sewage collection, is at 77.3% coverage.
With 100% treatment of everything they collect.
100%. The foundation is solid.
So the financials, I saw net revenue was over 5,204.4 million. But the number that really tells a story, especially in a crisis, is the EBITDA.
It's the growth in that EBITDA that really jumps out, a 17.6% increase. That resulted in an EBITDA margin of, 43.7%,
Wow.
which suggests that even with the immense pressure from the drought, their cost controls and their operating leverage were just exceptional.
So what did they do with that financial strength? Because, a lot of companies might just hoard cash in that kind of uncertainty.
They went the other way.
They invested it.
They invested right back into the system. They knew that hitting those universalization targets meant injecting capital immediately. They applied the highest volume of resources in the last 5 years.
Which was over 1.3 billion in total investments.
A 36.3% increase from the year before. A huge jump.
So they were healthy enough to invest more during the crisis. And that financial strength, that resilience, it secured them a AAA rating.
And a AAA rating for a utility is a massive competitive advantage. It's more than a badge of honor. It's a powerful tool.
Because it gives them a huge discount on future borrowing.
Which is absolutely crucial for funding the long-term, multi-billion-dollar investments they need to hit those 2033 universalization targets.
Right.
It literally lowers their cost of complying with the law.
Securing an AAA rating while navigating a historic drought and a regulatory overhaul, that really is the story of the year.
It is. But let's get into the challenges they had to physically overcome.
Yeah.
Challenge number one was just the physical reality, the severe water crisis. The state saw a rainfall that was 30 to 40% below the historical average.
So the dams were critically low. The system was basically at a breaking point.
It was. And the immediate impact, of course, was massive public hardship. It forced this staggering 673-day water rotation schedule in the big metropolitan region.
That's affecting over 3.5 million people. Think about that for a second. Nearly 2 years where millions of people had to ration water.
Their financial performance would have been devastated if they hadn't moved fast with emergency measures.
So what was their response?
It was two-pronged. One was rapid engineering. They fired up about 20 different construction projects to find alternative water sources, basically scrambling to tap anything they could.
And the other track?
Brilliant public engagement. They rallied citizens with a campaign called Meta 20, just urging rational water use.
And did that combined effort actually work?
It saved the system. Together, the infrastructure work and the citizen cooperation saved an astounding 89.8 billion liters of water.
89.8 billion.
The reports are clear. That volume prevented the entire system from collapsing. That is resilience defined.
Incredible. So that's challenge one. Challenge two came straight from the government, the new regulatory landscape.
We're talking about Law 14.026/2020. This is the new foundation for the entire sanitation sector. It sets these really strict universalization targets.
99% potable water, 90% sewage collection and treatment, all by 2033.
And for the company, it meant that all of their existing contracts with individual towns and cities had to be renegotiated and updated. Fast. by March 2022.
And this is where the strategy gets really complex. The state government stepped in and created 3 huge service areas, these microregions.
Right, Central Coastal, Central Eastern, and West.
That fundamentally changes the game, doesn't it?
It creates enormous risk, but also consolidation. Before, they'd negotiate with hundreds of individual municipalities.
Just by one.
Yeah, now they negotiate with just 3 large regional consortia. If they lose a negotiation with one microregion, they lose a massive chunk of their entire service area.
Not just one small town.
Exactly. The stakes in those negotiations became astronomical.
What a massive risk shift. And the third challenge is that constant internal battle against costs. Energy is the silent killer for these big utilities, right?
It is. The number is huge.
Yep.
Energy consumption is their single highest operating cost, over $500 million a year.
And almost all of that is for pumping systems.
Over 90%.
Yeah.
So if they can't manage that cost, their margins and their ability to invest that $1.3 billion, it's all immediately threatened.
And tied to cost is water loss. Now, even with the drought, they somehow managed to cut water losses. I saw they used something called the MASPP system.
MASPA is their systematic methodology. It's like a deep dive audit into every single drop of water lost. They analyze water balance, flow, pressure, everything.
And using that, they actually brought the loss rate down.
They did. From 220.18 liters per connection per day down to 210.81 in 2021.
That's a significant cut, especially during the worst drought in years. How'd they do it on the ground?
Proactive replacement and vigilance. The reports show they were replacing around 400,000 water meters every single year.
400,000.
It's a constant cycle. It deals with mechanical wear and tear, sure, but it's also a powerful tool to fight fraud and illegal connections, which are a huge source of unbilled water loss.
Okay, so let's pivot from those massive challenges to the key strategic events of the year, the things that will define their future. Event 1 has to be that huge investment in universalization.
Absolutely. The biggest focus area, and where most of that capital went, was sewage. Investment in sanitary sewage hit $596.4 million.
A 42% jump from the year before.
A massive jump. And that money didn't just sit in a bank account, it hit the ground immediately.
Right.
It enabled 71,558 more families to get connected to the collection network. That is tangible progress in a single year, helping them maintain that 77.3% coverage rate.
While treating all of it, of course.
100% of it.
So Event 2 signals a major strategic pivot for them, the launch of this Sanepar Startups Open Innovation Program.
It's a really smart move. They realized that internal R&D alone might not solve these compounding crises fast enough, so they're leveraging external creativity.
How does it work?
They partnered with major development banks, allocated $1.5 million across 2 different calls for innovative solutions. And the focus areas are very telling.
And let me guess. Resilient infrastructure, climate solutions.
And customer relations. Direct responses to the drought and the regulatory pressure.
And this feeds into their own internal R&D, like that small hydraulic energy recovery pilot.
Exactly. Or the floating solar plant on the Pathuna Reservoir. It's a 2-pronged approach. Internal and external innovation working together.
Which brings us to the third key event, which is all about governance and integrity. Critical when you're dealing with billions in public money.
Very critical. Their integrity program hit 2 years of maturity, and the focus was all on transparency.
And their response to those existing investigations, things like operations, Radio Petrula, and Ductos.
Yeah, which were focused on things like alleged bid rigging. Their response was noteworthy. Senior management proactively hired both an external investigation committee and a shadow investigation.
That shows serious intent. They're trying to create distance and ensure credibility.
It does. And the reports really emphasize that the company is positioning itself as a victim of potential misconduct, not a defendant. It's a major credibility play in a sector that's so heavily regulated.
Okay, now for the part that I find really interesting. Let's move to the 3 pillars of ESG, starting with the environment, the E. For utility, this is so tied to their operational costs.
The big story here is the circular economy and energy recovery. We saw a huge increase in sewage sludge being directed toward energy use, over 306,000 units in 2021.
So they're turning waste into a resource.
Exactly. Their high-tech biodigestion plant, CS Bioenergia, generated 3,671,551 kilowatt hours of energy credits that year.
So they're turning sewage into electricity. Closing the loop. What about future commitments on the environmental side?
The key future action is all about eliminating a major liability, sending sludge to landfills. The reports confirm a new thermal drying system is due in the first half of 2022.
And that system,
It's designed to use biogas and biomass that's produced right there on site to dry the sludge. It should eliminate the need for off-site disposal entirely.
That's a huge commitment. But at the same time, they also spent $3.25 million converting 26 environmental fines into improvement projects.
Correct. Which shows that environmental compliance isn't a solved problem. It's an ongoing challenge and a clear financial risk that requires continuous investment.
Okay, moving to the S pillar, social. The pressure of the drought and the pandemic really amplified the need for affordability.
And the Agua Solidaria program was a critical lifeline here. It provided $153.5 million in subsidies to around 220,000 low-income families.
By doing what? Postponing bills, suspending cuts.
Both, which is essential for maintaining your social license to operate during a crisis that lasted 673 days.
And to address the physical water insecurity, they launched the Good Water Tank Project.
Yes, giving out 1,800 kits to vulnerable families. And internally, they focused on their people. An amazing 98.9% of employees got over 20 hours of training.
That's a great number.
And they restructured their equity committee into a broader diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. So they're explicitly tackling issues like gender, people with disabilities, and LGBTQI plus representation.
And finally, the G for governance. Winning the Transparency Trophy for the 4th time in a row is a strong signal.
It really is. It shows a commitment to making financial and operational data accessible, which is vital if you want to attract investment.
And their governance relies on strict structures and mandatory training.
Over 5,900 employees trained on the Code of Conduct and Integrity in 2021 alone.
So this high level of governance, it must feed into their risk assessment. What are they most worried about?
They use the CHOSO framework, which is a global standard, so this list isn't just casual. It prioritizes 7 strategic risks.
And the top 3?
The top 3 really show how 2021 reshaped their focus. Number 1, water unavailability. The drought proved that was a daily reality.
Makes sense.
Number 2, non-renewal or loss of contracts with municipalities. That's a direct reference to the microregion's risk. And number 3, deterioration of reputation brand. Climate, regulation, and public trust.
That risk list sets the stage perfectly for their objectives going forward. What are the top priorities for 2022 and beyond?
Priority 1, and the most critical, is regulatory compliance. The absolute immediate objective was to finalize all the contract updates with those 3 new microregions by the March 2022 deadline. If they fail there, the whole strategy falls apart.
And priority 2 seems to be capitalizing on those innovation pilots and attacking their biggest cost, energy. I'd call it ambitious infrastructure acceleration.
I agree. Operationally, they have to get that thermal sludge drying system done in the first half of 2022 to start cutting landfill costs. And strategically, they've got to roll out new energy systems, building on those pilots.
Scaling up the hydraulic energy recovery, expanding the floating solar, all to mitigate that $500 million a year energy bill.
Exactly.
And the third priority shows a clear focus on the areas of highest social need, expanding their rural sanitation program.
Yes. They're planning about 190 new partnerships over the next 5 years. That will benefit around 9,000 families. It shows a clear strategy to reach beyond the profitable urban centers and serve a demographic that's often left behind.
So when you put it all together, what does this all mean? Let's summarize the 3 biggest takeaways from this deep dive.
Okay, so insight number 1 is just the sheer depth of their dual resilience. Wow. The ability to manage a massive regulatory transition and an extraordinary 2-year climate crisis.
While getting an AAA rating and increasing investment to over $1.3 billion.
Right. It just confirms this exceptional, tested financial and corporate strength.
Insight number 2 is the direct link between spending money and social progress. That huge 42% capital injection into sewage systems.
It immediately translated into connecting over 71,000 more families in 1 year. It proves that in this sector, strategic investment isn't just a cost. It's the key driver of public health and business expansion.
Got it. And the third insight.
The profound necessity of a new energy grid. The company is actively diversifying its energy sources. Biogas, solar, hydro recovery, specifically because its $500 million plus energy bill is its single greatest operating risk.
So innovation in energy isn't a nice to have anymore.
It's driven by existential financial necessity and, frankly, future water security.
That raises a really important question for the future. 2021 proved that climate events are now a primary strategic risk. They call it water unavailability. So, how quickly can accompany this massive transition its energy consumption to fully resilient, renewable, decentralized sources, not just to secure its costs, but to secure its actual water supply against, increasing climate volatility?
That's the question. And it's a fascinating set of reports this year. It really highlights that in essential infrastructure, your strategy is measured by how fast and how effectively you can respond to both market shifts and ecological shifts.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into infrastructure resilience. If you want more insights into complex companies, join us next time.
We look forward to it.